If you're one of the girlies that see something that they like on TikTok and immediately impulse buys it, go ahead and put your hand up for me. You proud of yourself? Does it make you feel good? Are you even wearing that Sol de Janeiro perfume that you bought off Amazon, or is it just collecting dust on your shelf because it smells like a car air freshener? I feel like most of us assume that if we suddenly got like $1 million out of nowhere, all of our problems will be solved. But the more I'm getting into finance, the more I'm learning that's definitely not the case. And this is so crazy to me because I recently learned that over 75% of people that win the lottery end up broke within the next 5 years. I feel like it's easy for all of us to sit there and say like, oh, that could never be me. But a lot of us were never actually taught how to manage our money. So if you think about it, we never learned like money management or anything in school. Our parents are probably not the best at managing money, and money's just never been like a topic of discussion. I've noticed like with friends, family, partners, like money's always been one of those weird topics that everyone likes to just go around. It's like a hush hush thing that no one likes to talk about. But today I actually want to talk about it. I feel like this isn't one of my typical videos because I'm in the finance space and I'm good at making money, but recently I found out I'm not the best at keeping money. And so I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm this financial guru and that I take all of my own advice, because I'm only human and I feel like we all make dumb spending decisions sometimes. However, making these dumb decisions will keep you broke and living paycheck to paycheck no matter how much money you make. So if you want to avoid that and you actually want to be able to enjoy the money that you're making and just start unloading some of that debt and some of that money stress that you might have right now, then this is definitely the video for you, because I'm going to be going over all of the mistakes that I was making very recently and how I managed to change that in a few months. I know for a fact a lot of you are still making these mistakes right now, and it's okay, you weren't aware of it, but this is the video that's going to make you aware, so you have to take action and make some changes in your life. Because living paycheck to paycheck is not what we were put on this planet to do. We were here to enjoy, live life, eat good food, and travel, okay? I guarantee that if you follow even just like 2 of these hacks that I mentioned in today's video, you're going to see a huge difference in your finances, and you're going to be running back to this video thanking me. I can actually guarantee it. And I know I've been rambling, but let me just quickly introduce myself for those of you who are new here. Hi and welcome, I'm Gia. I make videos to help you glow up financially, physically, spiritually, mentally, everything. So stick around and hit that subscribe button if you want to join in on this journey of self-improvement. And without further ado, let's get into my first tip, which is to actually look at your finances. Now, I know that this isn't easy for a lot of us to do, because I get it, looking into your account and not seeing enough money can be kind of embarrassing. But I'm going to tell you from now, it's not embarrassing. It's actually very normal. There's a lot of people's accounts that look like this. And most importantly, it's fixable. You have full control over it. Like I said at the start, you've never been taught how to manage your money. School never taught you, parents never taught you. You never had these conversations with your friends. You probably never saw anything interesting on the TV or on the internet that spoke about money. You literally just woke up one day, you were an adult and you had to adjust and just do whatever. I grew up with this whole stigma, especially like in my household. It was like a very hush hush thing. You don't talk about money. If you're struggling financially, no one has to know. It was more like a pride thing, I guess. But without going off on a tangent, I feel like the most important thing is that you're not doing that to yourself. Like, it's cool if you want to be hush hush about your finances with people around you, it's whatever. But you need to understand exactly what's coming in and out of your bank account, and stop doing that thing where you just spend and then assess the damage after. Money is still going to be coming out of your account whether you see it or not. So it's better if you just look and scare yourself out of making more silly purchases. You need to be opening up your banking apps right now and taking a long hard look at those numbers, because whatever you're seeing is literally just a reflection of your bad habits. It's literally the consequences of your own actions. You need to get into your head that not having enough money is something that you have full control over. So this sucky reality of you living paycheck to paycheck is temporary if 1, you actually acknowledge the problem, and that's exactly what you're doing right now, because that's the reason why you're watching this video. And 2 is the step that most people skip, but it's to actually start taking actions towards improving. And I'm hoping that's what you're going to do by the time you finish watching this video. Now moving into the next tip, which is to actually set realistic budgets for yourself. Now I'm saying realistic because trust me when I say I've tried all of the budgeting apps out there. I've tried apps like Emma. I've even tried managing my budget on like the Google Excel sheets. That was an absolute nightmare for me. And I honestly tried all of the silly little TikTok hacks on budgeting. Like for me to stop buying Starbucks in the mornings and canceling my Netflix subscription, or to stop buying clothes for like 6 months. And watching all of these TikTok videos really made me understand why no one sticks to budgets, because they're so tedious. Like people make it so hard. Like all of this advice that I was getting was enough for someone to just say fuck budgeting altogether. Like I fully understand it. So instead, what I found works for me, and again, this is what works for me, this is something that I'm suggesting to you, but if you find something that works slightly better, go ahead and do that. But in short, I have 3 bank accounts. So I have my bills and living expenses account, my business investments account, and then my baller account. I don't use a savings account anymore, and you're gonna understand why by the end of this video. But yeah, those are my 3 accounts. So for the first account, I put all of my bills and my living expenses that are necessary on this account. And this is where all of my paychecks land, so I split the money into percentages. In this particular account, I keep 30% of my income. So yes, my rent and my bills are all under 30% of what I'm making. And of course, the living essentials like groceries and stuff like that. Basically the bare minimum to keep me alive. So food, water, and shelter. Okay, this account is a non-negotiable, so no expenses outside of what it's dedicated for are allowed to come out of this account. Then from here, 50% of my income goes into my business expenses. Now, this is the reason why I don't keep a savings account, because I believe that every single penny should be working for me. So instead of it just sitting in a savings account, it's actively working to make me more money. This for me is my business account. So I pay like my staff and like my softwares and stuff to keep my business up and running. But in your case, this would be things that you don't necessarily need but make your life better. So let's say a gym membership or a Netflix account. And now my final account, which is my baller account, this is my absolute favorite. 20% of my income gets transferred into this account. And this is the money that I can spend on whatever I want. So I could go off and buy a PS5, which is what I did recently with my baller account. I could go on a shopping spree, or I could order Uber Eats until all of that money is wiped out. Whatever I decide to do with that money is fully my business and my business only. Now for this account, I personally recommend that you opt for an account that offers cash back. So you're basically making some money back every time you make a purchase. Now I use my Platinum Amex for this because it gives me points that I can then go off and like pay for hotels or like first class flights. Yeah, I nearly forgot to mention for this tip, if your living expenses are different to mine, which they probably are, the percentages are going to be different. So this depends on whatever you're willing to invest. The baller account should be the absolute smallest. And you should opt for your first account, which was your bills and living expenses, to be around 50-60% if you don't want to be living on a super tight budget. I personally don't think that more than 60-70% of your money should be going back into rent and the basics that you need to survive, because then you won't actually have much money left over to invest in yourself and live your best life. So right now, I know that a lot of you watching this are probably experiencing like 80% of your money going back into bills and living expenses. So if that's the case, I strongly advise you to either up your income or lower your expenses. So to lower your expenses, you might need to move to a smaller apartment, or you might need to find cheaper deals for like your phone contract and stuff like that, or even canceling subscriptions that you don't need, because trust me, if you take a good look, there's going to be so many that you probably even forgot about. And of course, to up your income, you could actually get a higher paying job, or of course get a side hustle. Now before you try and go off and be like, oh my gosh, you're so out of touch, I had to actually do all of these things when I lost my job back in 2021. So because my income had been cut, I had to move to a smaller apartment, try and negotiate cheaper deals on all of my bills and expenses. And on top of that, I started a side hustle. And that's the reason why I managed to build myself up financially over that span of 6 to 8 months. Trust me, I know that a lot of the advice in this video might sound very harsh, but this is coming from a place of care, because life is genuinely too short for you to be living in survival mode. You deserve to have enough money to live a good and comfortable life where you're eating good food, you're traveling to places you want to go, you're able to put your family in a better position, and if any emergencies come up, you're able to pay for them. So you need to start acting like you believe that you deserve this life for yourself. Start with simple budgeting and just stick with it. I promise your life is going to change in 6 to 8 months. That's literally all it takes. But yeah, this actually takes me into my next tip, which is to set super specific targets or goals for where you want to be financially in the next year or so. And if you're thinking this sounds too simple, ask yourself why you haven't done it. I'm waiting. Stop saying you want like 100K a year if you don't know how you're gonna get there. Are you gonna make it through your 9 to 5? Are you gonna, God forbid, have an accident at work where you get to claim 100K? I mean, I should hope not, but you see how you have to be super specific with what you want out of life. So how are you gonna get to your financial goals? Because trust me, it's not by just writing in your little manifestation board and just waiting for it to happen. You actually need to put in some work. You need to break it down step by step how you're gonna get to where you wanna be. And this is gonna absolutely blow your mind, but this is by far the easiest formula ever. All you need to do is ask yourself, how do I do it? Until you get an exact step by step, okay? So let's say I've turned around and I'm just like, okay, I wanna make 100K. Okay, how? I want to be a celebrity nail artist. Okay, how am I going to do that? Okay, I need to offer good services and improve my nail art skills. Okay, how do I do that? It's literally that simple. Now you've got an exact step-by-step plan. You can write it down somewhere and just follow it. Simple. You see how in less than 20 seconds, I've gone from having a dream to having a plan. That's literally all you need. Make a plan and go and make it happen. Stop waiting for the right time because tomorrow is not promised, okay? Now, the next tip I'm gonna get into is something that I know a lot of people are currently struggling with, but you need to get out of credit card debt. Nothing good is coming out of you having a balance on your credit cards. You're literally ruining your net worth, you're tanking your credit score, and you're literally drowning yourself in interest. If you have credit cards right now that are not zero interest and that actually have a balance on them at this moment in time, then you need to focus on those and take that money down urgently. Stop spending more money that you don't have. You need to disconnect or remove the cards from your Apple Pay because you think it's literally just monopoly money that you're spending. These are real dollars, these are real pounds, these are real euros that are coming out of your account. And trust me when I say I know what I'm talking about because I've been there. This time last year, August, September period, right? That point in my life was when I was $5,000 in credit card debt. Well, over $5,000 in credit card debt. And this year I really found myself having that revelation where I was like, okay, cool. Your income is going up, but so are your expenses. Like you're spending too much money compared to what money you're making right now. At the point I'm at right now, I'm currently making 10 to 15,000 every single month. Most of the money comes from affiliate marketing. And then there's like a small percentage from YouTube. But 10 to 15,000 a month in most people's minds is like the dream amount of money to have. But what you don't realize is that when you don't actually have the knowledge on how to manage that money, you're gonna be living paycheck to paycheck regardless of how much money you're making. I'm gonna be so honest with you, it took me way too long to realize this, and I've only recently, and by recently I mean like the past 3-4 months, I've started to actually take control and manage my finances again. But yeah, get out of credit card debt, build the self-control to literally just not use these cards anymore. Like put them to one side, maybe even give them to someone that you know and you trust to just take a hold of them and not give them back to you until the balance is cleared. You might think this is extreme, but you are currently not responsible enough to manage that money. And if you don't do something about it, you're going to continue to put yourself in debt. Like I said, I've been there before. It's an incredible feeling for you to just go around, tap your card and not see it come out of your main account. But at the end of the day, you still have to pay that money back at some point. And another crazy thing that I wanted to mention, because maybe some of you haven't even noticed this, maybe some of you don't know that companies do this. I literally had to find out the hard way that these companies would literally increase my interest rates if I was in debt. Like if they saw that I was in debt, they would literally increase the interest rate to put me in even more debt. Trust me when I say you need to get out of that cycle ASAP. And also, by the way, this also applies to like the buy now pay later scheme, like ClearPay, Afterpay, Klarna's if you're in the UK. Obviously these companies don't actually charge like interest, so you think, yeah, I can just spend whatever I want on here and it's fine. And this is not fine at all, because at the end of the day, you probably didn't read the fine print like what I did. And luckily I didn't put myself in debt with these companies and I didn't miss any payments. But with these buy now pay later schemes, they obviously don't charge you interest. What they do instead most of the time is if you miss a payment, then they will charge you a percentage of whatever balance you have. Some of these companies are so slimy that they'll literally put like an extra 40% of whatever the balance is onto your current balance if you miss that payment. So my best advice to you is, if you do not have the money in your bank account in that moment in time when you're trying to make a purchase on your credit card, don't even think about it, because that's money that you don't have. You can't afford the item. These companies literally rely on you being broke and impulsive so they can make more money off you. So don't fall into that trap. You need to build some self-control, no joke. And speaking of self-control, that brings me perfectly into the next tip, which is to stop being a consumer. I'm guilty of it sometimes, so I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite right now, but I'm working on it, okay? I'm not perfect. If you're one of the girlies that see something that they like on TikTok and immediately impulse buys it, go ahead and put your hand up for me. Are you proud of yourself? Does it make you feel good? Are you even wearing that Sol de Janeiro perfume that you bought off Amazon, or is it just collecting dust on your shelf because it smells like a car air freshener? You need to stop falling for these advertising campaigns, okay? These influencers are getting paid to literally just influence you, okay? This is exactly how you end up hoarding all of that Korean skincare, which by the way is actually really good, but you don't need that many moisturizers. Or buying 10 Shein dresses that you know are gonna be terrible quality and see-through anyway, so you're never gonna wear them outside. The best ways that I found work for me were to start unfollowing pages that make me want to spend. So all of these Instagram and TikTok pages that used to show off skincare and hair care and all that stuff, or like try on hauls, unfollowed all of them. One thing that really made me realize how bad my like TikTok spending was when I went on a social media detox. Because in that month, Amazon did not see me. Amazon did not see any purchases from me. A social media detox definitely made me realize that maybe I do kind of have a spending problem, but not for long because I'm fixing it, okay? But anyway, now that I've given you a free, whatever you want to call it, therapy session, you now have the self-awareness that you might have a spending problem, so we can work towards fixing it. And that actually takes me into the next tip that has been working for me, which is that if I'm still dead set on buying a product and it's well outside my budget, then I have to have a plan to make that money back. If not, I can't make that purchase. This is exactly what I do and it helps me gamify my life. But for example, if I spend $200 on, let's say like a House of CB dress, right? I'm gonna come up with a plan or like sell a pair of trainers to make that money back or even more. This helps me justify my spending and I'm not going over budget, and also actually does help me declutter my house, because instead of just piling on clothes and extra bits that I don't need, I'm actually getting rid of them at the same time. Anyway, this leads me perfectly into my final tip for this video. And no word of a lie, this is probably the last thing you would expect me to say, but buy high-end brands. Don't look at me crazy because I know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? I'm talking to all of you that go crazy on like the Amazons, the Fashion Novas, the Sheins, and you end up wearing most of these items twice. Or if you actually find something that fits well, it just ends up looking old and bobbled after like a couple of wears. This doesn't make any sense financially in the long run. Because think about it logically, right? If you spent money on 10 pairs of Fashion Nova jeans, that money right there would have been the equivalent of 1 pair of Levi's. And you know for a fact that these Fashion Nova jeans, you can only wear them a couple of times before they get thrown out, whereas a pair of Levi's will last you forever. And I'm not just sitting here saying, you know what, go off and buy yourself a Gucci handbag. You can buy a Gucci handbag, but you have to be smart about it. You need to invest in good quality clothes. Now, the crazy thing is you don't have to spend extortionate prices on them. To this day, I still love thrifting, so I could easily go and walk into a Gucci store and get myself a wallet. Or I could go vintage thrifting and walk out with like 10 authentic vintage handbags. When I tell you, I've been thrifting since I was like 14, and this has been a huge hobby of mine. But when I tell you, I've managed to collect so many authentic designer pieces that are no longer being made, so they're custom, they're unique. And I can confidently step out the house knowing that most people won't have the same outfit that I've got on. But yeah guys, that concludes my video. I know it's been a pretty long one, so good on you if you stayed till the end. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and turn that subscribe button gray to see more videos like these. And comment below if you have any videos in particular you want to see from me. Peace and love, and I'll catch you in the next one.